Hello friends, this is Niladri Mahapatra once again. Welcome to Agile Digest. Today we'll talk about Jira Service Desk. Yes, this is one of the most cost-effective service applications that enable your organizations to implement the service system or the support system. If you are serving customers and customers having lots of queries, or they want support from you and you have a group of people who are supporting them, you can enable this Jira Service Desk along with Jira software and Confluence and make it very easy to manage a support system for you. We'll talk about the case studies, and from that case study, you'll be able to understand what exactly the capabilities of this Jira Service Desk we have. We'll not go into a deep dive on how you can do that, but we'll talk about primarily the capabilities and the possible options that you may implement within your organizations if you are running a support system. Let's begin with this particular case study, and this is actually a case study that we have implemented for one of our client. Let's try to understand what exactly we have. Great. So now for our particular client, we realized based on our uh, initial investigations or initial discussions, we find out, okay, based on the nature of work they are working, that can be divided into five separate types of work. So one will be typical help desk. They will be working on any kind of IT support, printer not working, or somewhere there is paper not available, or any related servers is too slow, not password reset request. All those can be going to a help desk kind of nature. There was a dedicated team they were doing for DevOps activity, and that we have created a system restoration team, or for them we created a separate request type. I'll come to that, what exactly why we have done that and why these categories is important. And then similarly, we have a rapid development team, we had ERP teams, and some teams they were dedicated for doing reportings. And based on the nature of flows they have, we created a workflows, one kind of workflow where I was working with. We have configured for help desk and DevOps a single workflow, and we clubbed all these three nature of work into one workflow. All were using Kanban, but by default, you'll not be able to have that visualizations of Kanban in Jira Service Desk. We need to club with another type of projects. We'll talk about that, how we can do or how we were using that in a while. So we have one Kanban board for help desk, we had one Kanban board for DevOps, and one common Kanban board for the application support. So this is a rapid development or any ad hoc request, anything that's needed to be done immediately. That request comes to the team. We had a Kanban board for them. There is an ERP support team. So for that also we had a separate team, but was following one board categorized with different swim lanes. We'll talk about that. Now, this is the initial categorization we have done. Now, when we talk about the level of support for each and every categories that we have divided different groups. For the first one, we decided, okay, this will be a group one and this will be the workflow. For the group two, this will be a workflow, and the group three will be having a different sets of workflow. For group one and two, we simply says, okay, customer requested, then the support agent will work on that and they will close it. But in the application development, there was three different layers of support. So when customer requests, it goes to the call center. So the level one supports happen here, and that may get closed here, or if they don't able to close it, they move it to a technical support, and technical support can resolve it. If the technical support can't resolve it, they can send it to development team, and it goes for a change request, and they does that as a level 3, and finally it goes to close. So many time a ticket can be closed directly from call center, or from technical support or definitely from development team. That's how the workflow design. Now, if I talk about the Kanban board, how exactly we have configured that anytime each categories they are having a different dedicated Kanban board. For an example, help desk have their one own Kanban board, DevOps have their own Kanban board, and the other three application support have one Kanban board. When a customer make a request, that there is a logic we have implemented, and based on that the request actually decide it should go into which Kanban board. It should go for help desk based on the selections they are doing for the types. Once we look into the different types they are selecting at the customer portal, there is a dedicated customer portal, we'll look into that. So this is how it's actually decide where it will be going. Okay, this is the customer portal. When a customer opens their page, it's come up with initial questions that what kind of tickets they wants to raise, and based on that a new page will come up, and they can select, okay, who, the customer name who is raising that, and they will start creating the summary and description and what applications they wants to raise for. There are cascading information based on whatever they are selecting. For if they are selecting, for an example, application support, there can be predefined few sets that can be defined. Based on that, you can make different logics, and that's what we have done there. Once they raise that, this is where the customer will raise that request. It will go to the proper Kanban board. Now, to implement that, like the customer will raise a request, it will come to the teams and assign to the board. Also, some reportings we have. Actually, we need four different nature of project types or Jira projects. So first, you need to have a Jira Service Desk project that we have used, then multiple Jira software project with Kanban board. So Jira software project is a kind of your normal Jira software project. Apart from Jira Service Desk, for a Kanban board, by default, Jira Service Desk doesn't support a board like Kanban. You may need to have those Kanban board, and also the Jira customer portal is by default is part of your Jira Service Desk. You don't need it to take it separately, but also if you wants to implement your input from the customer from your websites or your e-commerce website or whatever the websites you have, you can do that also. And for visualizations, reporting, analysis, we have created an external web dashboard for the visual radiator. We'll look into that in a while. Now, if I go into the workflows, we talked about two different workflows. This is the workflow that we have in a high level. We can talk about customer request, support agent, and closed. This is a very high level workflows. You can see that when customer request, it goes into L1 queue. That's my the initial support agents, and then when L1 is start working on, it goes into L1 in progress. There may be some different areas within workflow for hold or waiting customer, but on a singular line of flow, after L1 process, it will be resolved, or at any point of time, it can be resolved, rejected. This one is little complicated, but to make you understand it clearly, that this call center L1 is an L1 queue, then it goes into L1 in progress. Similarly, for L2, we will be going to L2 in progress, and after that, it may go to L3, and it will go into L3 in progress. Those are the different steps we have for in progress state, and finally, it will go into resolve state. Right, this is what we have as an workflow, and this workflow, as we mentioned earlier, we are implementing at different nature of work. Now, to understand this once again, as we know that help desk and DevOps, those are going into in a different workflow, and the rapid development ERP and those reporting, those are going into a different nature of workflow. So if I distribute that workflow, so you can see everywhere I have a queue for L1 and then in progress in L1. Those combinedly is actually going for my L1 in progress. What we have done is we have says, okay, if it is a single layer, we only work on L1, so directly it will go into customer support in case of help desk and DevOps kind of request, and then it will be closed. In case it is rapid development ERP or reporting, we route it into a different workflow. That workflow have L1, L2, and L3. These are the layers, and each layer have response queue and resolution queue. There are two queues under each layer. So that's why when we are implementing the SLAs, we were calculating what's our response time and resolution time. We'll come to that when what exactly we have done on the SLA side. So this is how we have structured. Okay. Now, there are a few responsibilities. We have mentioned that, okay, the people, based on the different input we got from the management and the teams, we found that, okay, the people for whoever is working on L1, will check the network is there or not, coordinate with IT infra team. So this is a sample of the nature of work we are assuming will go into L1, the nature of work it will go into L2, and sample nature of work that can go to L3. So validate L1 and L2 comment and user error, check analysis and backend data database. These are the few areas that they will be working on as a responsibility at different layers. Now, if I talk about Kanban for application support, this is a sample Kanban board. Once you have created your system, now we have integrated a Kanban board. By default, Jira Service Desk project will not be having a Kanban board. You need to use a software project and integrate your Jira software and Jira help desk, that particular projects, to make your Kanban board. In a Kanban board, you can see we have L1 queue and then L1 work in progress. So that's what we'll be working on. Similarly, we'll be having L2 queue and L2 work in progress. We have L3 queue and L3 work in progress. And finally, if you are putting anything on hold, that will come up here. And you may plan a work in progress limit. We have initially started our work in progress limit at 10, but when the screenshot was taken, I can see there's a 48 work items currently there because there are too much of hold going on. So they may need to go for retrospections why that is happening. And finally, we have done or rejected column. This is a application. This is a Kanban board for the application support we were talking about. Similarly, for IT help, we have only queue, that is L1. Then when they are started working on it, can go into resolving, then on hold, and if there is waiting for approval and done. It's a little simple because we don't have L2 and L3 queue. All request coming from customer, based on the issue types, it decides which queue it will go into or which kind nature of type it is, and based on that the workflow assigns, and based on the workflow assignments it goes into the particular Kanban board. That's how we have configured. It seems little complicated, but for the end user perspectives it's very simple, and they are very much satisfied with just looking into the one Kanban board and working from that Kanban board itself. Now, when we talk about configuration of SLAs, we have decided, okay, based on the inputs, we had couple of priority of all the works that is coming from the customers, and we have different resolutions and response. For L1, I have some response and L1 resolution, L2 response, L2 resolution. This is what they have identified. For an example, L1 response, if the priority is highest, the response has to be go in 1 hour, and the resolution has to be provided in 2 hours. So all those we have planned and decided for. This is all the numbers you are looking into, those are in hours. So for an example, L3 resolution, if it is a medium kind of thing, that means it can be resolved in 16 hours. When the response is come, it needs to be responded in 5 hours. This is what we have configured. So now if I look into any of the tickets, when this particular ticket, an example of this ticket is closed, but it also shows you the exact time and how much SLAs it has met or not. So it will show you the SLA levels. This is actually got minus 3.45 seconds, 3 minutes 45 seconds. That means, no, sorry, 3 hours 45 minutes. That means it's actually lost the SLA. It has to be responded within 1 hour, but it has not done. This one is 2 hours. It was right, just made the L2 resolutions, and L3 response is also made because it was done in 3.58, and where if the expectation was 4 hours. So you can actually see all these resolution also, and later you can use a different dashboard to look into how the team is performing, and we have done that in a custom made dashboard outside Jira. Will show you how exactly we have done that. Now, if I talk about the SLAs, how those SLAs actually works, if I talk about L1 response, that means when something comes into L1 queue and it's moving into work in progress, that my response. And the resolution is also sometimes what I have done is from the response itself, it may go into directly done because that may not be required or something. That can be my response time. But in the resolutions, if I talk about L1 resolutions, whenever I am moving it to from L1 to done, L1 work in progress to done, or L1 work in progress to L2 queue. So there are two exits place where I will be moving into. Based on that, that clock will be counted, and we have configured this in such a way that whenever we are transitioning from one queue to another queue, that should be taken care of accordingly. So this is for all the resolutions or the all the SLA calculations we are calculating based on this visual diagram. You can understand this is how we have done that. Now, uh, when we talk about SLAs, it's very much important that there are many possible scenarios where we need to stop our clock, right? Or we need to calculate, okay, we work 8 hours a day, we are in a different time zones, the time should not be equal for the India or USA or UK. So for that, we have configured over here because we have few support people who are working on somewhere in the Middle East and the India also they were supporting. So we have configured. We'll show you what exactly we have configured. So we have a distributed time zone, and working days and hours were different, the holidays were different, but every times we can configure in a calendar management system within our Jira Service Desk. And also the SLA's clock needs to be stopped when we are asking a counter question to the customer. That means it's waiting for the customer. So till the time customer is not responding, our clock should be stopped. So these are the areas. What we have done is we have uh, we have options to create multiple calendars, right? So each calendar have working days Monday to Sunday, how many days you are working. Each working days have work start time and end time, list of holidays, and configurable time zone for the calendar. And based on that, we says, okay, this is all my SLAs are, and within these SLAs, we will assign couple of calendars. So we have created two calendar, distributed team calendar that we have assigned for L1 and L2. And India development team, we have assigned the calendar for L3. So an assumption that at the client side they have L1 and L2 response team, they will be immediately response, so they should follow our time calendar followed to the client location. But if there is some development comes to India, that should fall into a India calendar system, and in each calendar we can define working days or the time the team will work on, list of holidays, and all those will be calculated there. Again, the SLA clock can be stop or start at different states, that also we have configured. For different layer, L1 response, L2 response, or L3 response or resolutions, we can start at, I'm just giving an example of just name as status 1, status 2, but this will be actually a workflow status. You can mention, okay, workflow status this and this, your clocks to start. If your ticket reach to workflow status this and these, you can pause it. And if your issues goes into this state, you can stop it. For every resolutions or every SLAs, you can define where to start, where to pause, and where to stop your SLA clock. So SLA clock is also working on your calendar system, also your status based identifications or configurations, where it will the clock will continue or where the clock will pause. So if I want to show that how exactly that is configurable, I'm showing a sample configuration L1 response time. So for L1 response time, I'm saying, okay, when the entry status, if it is reaching to L1 queue, the clock will start. If it is going on hold or waiting for customer, it will pause. Or if it enter into L1 in progress, or enter into L2 queue or L3 queue or resolve or resolution is set, will stop it. That means this response time can also got stopped, or the clock will stop. That means there's check the calculation how much time they have spent. Even it's reaching to L1 in progress. That's the, I'm starting the resolution, right? And for L2 L1 resolution or L1 in progress, the clock will start based on that. And also we have defined this is the SLA's goal for priority, how much, what priority, how much time that needs to be done. And this is actually 24/7 calendar. If you have not aligned any calendar, it will be take the default calendar. Now you can also define calendar for every SLAs that we just talked in the previous slide. Now, what is customer hold? So if I talk about customer hold, it's actually a pop-up screen comes up when we says, okay, the team will move one tickets from the column, any column to customer hold. We implemented a pop-up screen in Jira, and we says, okay, we can what we have say is that we will be having that pop-up screen and we'll ask the reason why exactly you are putting in the customer hold and what is the reasons. You need to put the reasons over there. Then capturing the customer response, ticket will auto resume to previous states. But what happen is you put it something into customer will get a mail notification. Customer will comment on that particular, the moment the customer will comment, it will come back to your original queue when it was started with. That's how we have configured. That needs lots of configurations in custom fields and transitions in workflow, but that is what we have done. Now the ticket assignee make it mandatory. We have made it mandatory for any times when we are putting into customer hold, that ticket has to be assigned to someone so that we can say, okay, this person is actually waiting for the customer hold. And this is something was a need from the customer side. That's for a need from the organization management side, and that way we have implemented that. Now after a certain period of time, we realized we need to make some analysis what are the different categories of customer hold reasons. So we started creating, okay, these are the 5 sets of categories. Whenever we'll put it into customer hold in this pop-up screen, we'll ask the assignee select the category, reason category. For an example, um, please verify the issue is resolved, or we are saying, okay, can you please share some screenshot. So screenshot required, or more information required. So similarly we have 5 different categories we have. And um, sometimes what happen is we fix the issues, or the team fix the issues, they put it into customer for a final review and customer is not responding. So we have an auto closer mechanism that if the ticket put on hold, a customer hold, and system will send a notification to customer with details. In hold since 3 days, reminder to customer. That's also automated. In hold since 5 days, reminder to again a second reminder. In hold for 8 days, ticket auto closer and notification to customer. So this is all you can do automations related to the customer hold only. So there are many other areas you can implement. This is what we have done for this particular case study that we are talking about. Okay, now if you look into that, this is the workflow where we have. Whenever I am saying customer hold, so it's actually come from all the different work in progress, and it can come to any other. So when you see this all, this is a global transitions. So from any state, you can move it to waiting for customer. From customer, this is a auto resolve transitions. If that doesn't work, we'll execute our automation execute the auto resolve after 8 days when it is under customer hold. So that's one of the area that we have done. Now let's talk about the internal hold also. Sometimes it's not hold because of the customer, but we are putting it for some internal hold that the database is not accessible. I'm not able to do that, or the team members is needing some other development to test it whether it is working or not. Can be many different reasons. So when again we are putting into internal hold, we can make a direct assign is mandatory. So that is what we have done. What I am saying is we can, that actually we have did it here. I need to change that can to we have. So we have made a ticket assignee is mandatory before the service agent put the ticket on hold for them. So this is actually very easy in your workflow state, that before you making a transitions, your assignee is mandatory. Then different categorizations of the hold regions. So we can capture, you can capture predefined categories for hold regions, for what are the different hold regions you have for future analysis and reports. So I'll show you over here. These are the sample reasons we have for the categorizations, and also the pop-up screen that we talked about, customer hold. Similarly, pop-up screen will have, and over there we can actually talk about what are the important informations you need to capture, so you can do that, and that will save along with the tickets. So that's internal hold and customer hold are two areas where we are putting our tickets on hold, and we are expecting some input from internal agents or team members, and similarly in the other way from the customer. Now, this is what we are talking about, internal hold, when this particular area that we are talking about. So it can come from L1, it can come from L2, and it can come from L3, and it can go back to the originated state where it was initiated from. The workflow is little complicated because the entire control for three different layer is managed from this workflow. So that's why it's actually looks little complicated, but once we have started working on that, it was not the first step. We have this workflow at the beginning. We evolved to this workflow based on multiple discussions and multiple enhancement requests we got, and we end up with this workflow so far. Okay, now we'll talk about auto assignment. So this is something the team members will get auto assignment upon moving tickets from response to resolution. So if I have working for L1 team, and if I'm moving a tickets from L1 to L2, I'll get a auto response to me. Now, who will be working on L1 and L2? Will they get notified? Yeah, that's also we have automated that whenever ticket will come to any queues, there are sets of people we have defined. They will get a email notifications, and based on that, the people will know what's there in queue. If any person is moving the tickets from response to resolution queue or a response queue to work in progress queue, that will be auto assigned. That's what we have configured. And the customer portal also, so this is we'll talk about a customer portal a little more. So when we are raising a ticket, or as a customer, where customer is raising a ticket, the setup is we have set up some mandatory fields. So this is mandatory high customizable customer portal with Jira inbuilt fields and custom fields that best suits your business need. That we have done customers individual logs for tickets, so individual customer can go and see what the tickets they have logged and what their status is. And customers can group into organizations. So we have set up couple of people. They are, so in the customers may be from different department, and you can bring up all the people of customers into one department, or in Jira Service Desk terms it's called organization. So if you do that, all people under the same organizations can see each other tickets. So if it is a department A, people from department A can see the ticket from other people from department A. So if there are five people under department A, each person can see each other tickets from the department perspective. Similarly, you can have multiple departments, and you can make a groups of people or group of your customers. That's also one of the areas, so they can get a common notification. They can share request with as an organization. So that's what the possibilities is there. You can raise as a group member, you can raise individual tickets, and then later you can actually change that individual ticket to a organization ticket by sharing into the organizations. Okay, so this is a customer sample customer screen that we already have talked about, and this is the category we are looking for, the summary, the descriptions, the priority, the attachment options, and once you will send it, it will send it to our Kanban board that we have. Now, once the ticket is raised, a notification to customer will send, and there are a few other notifications are common. There are many notifications areas, but most useful and common notifications we are using. Once the ticket is resolved, we send a notification to customer. When the ticket is on hold, we send a notification. When ticket need customer's response, we send a note, and many other areas also. Those are not very important, but we did couple of them. Then also configure templates with preview. So there are some variables you can insert on your notification. So the notifications template, when you are sending, you can insert your logos, you can format it in HTML or CSS or plain text, and you can insert many field variable data that is a part of your email, so that you can customize what inputs you are sending it to customers. So that is what area we also have done. And if you quickly want to have a look on the customer notifications, what are the notification options you have, and this is all the notifications you can see. You can send it. I'm not going through all of them, but these are the options available. We have used couple of them, and we have not used those. Are default are there, and they were stayed there as default only. Okay, there are most important thing in service desk is an automation. So when we talk about Jira Service Desk implementation, automation is very important. So automation and notification for service agent. Jira Service Desk has enriched with automation process. Those are highly customizable, inbuilt and custom. Few example that we have used is when create new tickets on development projects with link to this ticket when closed as change request. That means sometimes when we are closing a ticket at a level 3 and selecting a reason that this is a change request, we create a new ticket for the ERP team. For example, ERP team, we create a new story to the ERP team's backlog, and we says, okay, as the ticket was closed, a new ticket will be created. So automatically new tickets will be created, and we'll make a link of this particular service tickets with the new change request user story that we have done, and that can be done totally with automations, and we have done that, right? Also, we have some notifications when the SLA is about to breach. We used to send a notifications to the service agent. Okay, these are the tickets, the SLA is about to breach. We also send reminder to the customer on 5 days or 8 days or 3 days that something is waiting for you. Then if there is some tickets transitions back from customers to the original queue, when customer responded back, we send a notification. Okay, you asked for, as a service agent, you asked something to customer have responded, your clock is now started. Now when you create if there is new tickets that we are talking about, this one is again related to the link tickets update automatically when related tickets get updated. Okay, now we'll talk about link tickets update automatically when related tickets get updated. So if there is some relations you have made and you are making some changes on the tickets, if required, you can update, you can send a comments to the related tickets of any tickets that is connected with. There are a few, so when we talk about this automation, these are the few example that we have done. Now, the Jira Service Desk can also capture events and take custom actions. These are the possibilities. You if you want to do, you can do that. So there are few events you can capture. For an example, approval requested, or comment added or edited, ticket closed, ticket status change, ticket status link ticket status change, or time in one status reached to certain defined time. So time in one status reached to one certain times, organization created a ticket. Those are the different events you have. That's the trigger, and from those trigger you can add many functions like add a comment, alert service agent, auto approved and decline, change issue types, send email to customers, modify tickets fields value, change ticket status, and create new tickets. And also, if you are using webhooks, you are a technical person, you can uh, invoke a webhook as well. So this is the sections where you can do automation. This automation is awesome. You can automate many other areas that we have not done, but once you will do, or once we'll explore more, once we'll feel there is a need of automations, we you can do that, and it's very user friendly as well. When we talk about transition management, okay, so transition management, as you have the idea of Jira workflow administration, is the same one where we can apply conditions at the transitions, or we can validate our transitions, and we can put some post transition action. So for an example, a ticket assigned to specific agent, or change the field value whenever a ticket is moving from one state to another state, uh, copy value from one field to another field, or trigger a webhook. This is all we can do as a post functions of one workflow transition. So in a workflow, when a ticket is moving from one state to another state, you may apply a condition to that transitions, or if you can validate whether the transition is valid or not, or also you can invoke some post transitions like this. So this is a same way that you do a workflow transitions in the Jira administration side. We'll move ahead to talk about something very important called widgets. So now, if you are using Confluence, you can inbuild FAQs that actually prevent common tickets related questions to come to your queue and take your team's time. There are many FAQs you can input there, and people can directly go by FAQs and get the data from Confluence and come up there. There is an option called widgets. Using the widgets, what we have done is we have embedded this widget on the portal where the customer is working on, and they can directly add the summary and descriptions based on the email ID they have configured, because they need to configure the email ID for that. It will automatically check the customers and create as tickets for that. But this is so far was when we have done, that was not configurable the way we were expecting for identifying the ticket. So it was going into a generic queue. It was not going into the designed for ERP or L1 or L2. That was actually creating problem, but we are still exploring, and so this one later actually not used much, but if you are having a simplified ways, you can use this widget also. Now, when we talk about the visualizations, once the ticket system is done, everything is working on, we have this Kanban board to visualize. For our application support, we have a board like this, and for our other boards like other team help desk, we have a board like a Kanban board like that. This is a visualizations of the queues that currently we are having. But we have created a custom built dashboard using I think .NET and Java was the tool that we have used, and some reporting tools like Angular or React. Using that, we created a dashboard totally outside Jira. What we have done it, we took the Jira data using REST APIs and made some cron jobs within that. It was gathering the data from Jira every day, and it was also having an option to fetch the data whoever is watching. And you can say it was used to show all the facts of how many L2 queues, or how many are currently on hold, how many we have closed. Similarly, it shows once you click on that, it shows what are the tickets. With the hyperlink, it will directly take you to the Jira. And similarly, it also shows something like how many are waiting for customer, and these are the reasons what we have. So when we talk about um, the customer hold, is how many of them are currently in hold, how many we moved into change request. This is actually all those. So WFC is waiting for customer. So this is actually status of L1. So how many L1 tickets are at different states. So I can see 93 are open, 14 are currently on hold, 317 is closed. So that's actually a good sign. Similarly, for L2 status and L3 status, it shows the status of all. Similarly, we also talks about how many level jumps we have. We also talked about how many times label jumps we have. So that means how many times we are moving the tickets from L1 to L2, or L1 to L3, or L2 to L3. ideally, if it comes to one queue, it should go directly to close. But if it is not closing, this is what we are analyzing. This is the report you will not be able to get directly in Jira because you need to do some custom analysis and make that. And this is the need we had from our business. If we are having SLA breaches, particular wickets, but this is actually talked about total out of 395, 221 was breached. Out of 341, this much is breached for L1 response and L1 resolution. These are the hold scenes, how long we are keeping the tickets in hold for how many days. So in one day, how much was there? 2 days, how many were there? And greater than 4 days, how many were there? If we are holding by, these are the name of the people who actually holding the tickets for a long time, and who have how many tickets currently put it on to hold. So that's another analytics we have. Similarly, if we are having a reject reasons, this is the area why we are rejecting. For whenever we are marking a ticket as rejected, we give a pop-up that okay, select a reason, and based on that, we select okay, lack of customer awareness or lack of customer process understanding, not an issue or not related to our domain. That can be different reasons, and we can get an analytics of this particular a chart. This you can toggle the chart with bar chart or this pie chart also. It's actually called a donut chart. And similarly, customer hold reasons, how many tickets we are actually holding for customer reasons, and majority of them we can see at this point of time issue resolve and need confirmation. That's one of the reasons we have. Right now, there are a few more metrics that we have: customer hold scenes or going to be breached, how many tickets is about to breach in a moment in L1 queue and L2 queue, what's the open scenes, how many tickets those are open, and it's open since how many days. It's a kind of a open tickets with a age that 1 week, more than 1 week of age is having 29 tickets. So those are the different analytics you can actually bring in to visualize how your team is performing and what the improvement areas you can do. So that's all what we had to show you. How exactly the Jira Service Desk is and what we have implemented. And let's talk about what you need. So for an example, if you want to implement that, you may need a Jira software, Jira Service Desk, and Confluence is optional if you want to implement FAQs. For a setup, you need an installation, identify your business need and customization and configurations that you need to do. You may need some training on Jira Service Desk, training on Jira software and Kanban, and optional training on Confluence. Additionally, if you want to configure a custom dashboard, a web space and development effort will be required if you saw that dashboard, if you want to do that. So now we also provide services on Jira Service Desk implementations. We provide training on Jira Service Desk. We can set up your organization support system with Jira Service Desk and build the robust dashboarding systems based on whatever the possible scenarios possible with your organization, and provide managed service on Jira Service Desk as well as an Agile Digest. This is all what we have. Thank you all for connecting. This is Niladri Mahapatra once again, and thank you all for your time. On more informations, if you wants to attend our telegram group for further communications and details, you can find below the link. We have all the informations there. Thank you all. Thanks everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.